Hey, let's get it. Another show of the House of AC. Thanks for joining me today. Exciting stuff today. It's going to talk about what I sort of invented. That I call it the House of AC Real Estate Investing Flywheel, and it's important to understand how that works so you know exactly where you are on your real estate journey. You may be stuck, right? And there's different stages you may be stuck at, but if you can kind of see what the path is moving forward, then you'll have some success. So this is a great episode that we're going to cover today. Uh, Once again, thanks for tuning in. People live, love it that you're live. You can ask all your questions. For whatever reason, the software doesn't allow me to see your comments and questions on Twitter. So if you're watching on Twitter, thank you. But if you have a question, please log on either through the House of AC Facebook page or YouTube, Twitch, Discord, yeah, all those things. And it's in my link tree right here on the screen. Linktree / the House of AC. You can find all those links. So please come check it out. Would love to hear your questions and comments. And even if you're just saying I look really pretty today, I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take all the compliments you have for me. I'm not above that. All right. So the premise here, the real estate investing flywheel. I want to walk you through this. So let me show you where it started. I've got to share my screen. This is a famous author here, and I know you really can't see this website. Okay, Jim Collins. He writes about tech startups, mostly just good small business, medium-sized business. What makes a good business? So his book, Good to Great, right here, the first one, very popular in the startup world. And then he introduces a concept called the flywheel. And it just took off like wildfire, which he had a follow-up book called Turning the Flywheel. So Jim Collins, great books if you want to hear where this sort of flywheel comes from. The idea is this. A flywheel is just this mechanical wheel that's really heavy, and it's hard to get it going. Okay, but if you can get it going, whether you push it really hard, you get several people to help you, then the wheel starts moving a little bit slowly, but it's moving, right? And then you keep pushing, and then what happens is as it sort of rotates all the way around, it then starts feeding on its own momentum. So it starts rolling, it's really heavy, the gravity keeps pushing along, and then you can come in and push it. You don't have to push as hard anymore because it's already got some momentum. And then it goes around the circle again, you push again, around and around, and then guess what? Eventually hands off. You don't even need to touch it because it's self-fulfilling. It keeps running in its circle. So before I was all in on real estate, I had varied tech startup backgrounds in New York City and in Atlanta that I worked in. They all presented to every new hire, to the all hands meeting on deck, a flywheel of the business. Something that you may see in the business world is something along the lines of, we're going to have a great website. It's going to be the best website. We're going to have the best SEO. That's the top of the flywheel, right? Because we have the best website, we're going to get a lot of leads, right? And then our leads are going to pay and make us a lot of money that we're going to close. And those leads are going to increase our research and development and our marketing budget. And if we do that, we increase our research and development and our marketing budget, we'll put more money back into this website. And then the website's going to attract more leads, and the leads going to create more money for this, and then the flywheel keeps going, right? So every sort of business creates a model like that. Like, how are we going to, get onto the flywheel so that it just is hands off after a while? Like, we got a system, we got a process down, and a really successful business, one that takes off, becomes a unicorn business, which has $1 billion valuation. It needs to have that flywheel figured out, and it needs to be rolling in all cylinders, right? So I plucked that concept out of the tech startup world, out of Jim Collins' books, and I said, how can I apply this to real estate investing? Because the way I've always looked at real estate investing is I'm small business investing, very, very small business. One house is a small business. You look at the income, which is what lease I could get signed, what's the tenant currently paying, or if it's vacant, what can I rent it for? That would be the income of the business. And then I look at all the expenses of the business. Mortgage payment, property taxes, vacancies. Typically, I budget $100 a month for a vacancy. Maybe that would be $1,200 a year. And that's usually good enough, but you can use whatever numbers you want. Same with repairs, $100 as well. I typically probably average less than $1,200 per unit, but if I'm doing $100 a month, that's $1,200. And all the excess that's extra will go into a larger reserve fund for those big ticket items. They're called capital expenditures. The roof, which can be $5,000 to $10,000, a HVAC, which can be $2,500, replacing the hot water heater, which can be $1,800. That all goes into reserve fund. So then I'm looking at a business, and that's how you would evaluate any business. If you were going to go buy a franchise or make a deal on a tech startup that you want to acquire, you look at all the income, you look at all the expenses, and whatever's left over, that's what you evaluate what you want to offer on this property. So I took all that thing because I'm like, we're buying small businesses. I'm buying small businesses over and over again. And as an investor, how can I take that flywheel concept and apply it to acquiring more properties? So you may see yourself in this situation. If you want to visualize it, I have on the screen here a picture of a flywheel. Think of a mill that's being pushed by a waterfall, right? And this one has a little arm that pushes it to get it going. And just like a mill in a waterfall, the waterfall is going to keep that wheel spinning. And so I realize I didn't put it on the screen here. So let me share the screen and I'll show it to you again. All right. Well, we lost it. Anyway, you get the idea. A water mill, but if you take away the water or it freezes and there's no water, for a while, that mill will keep spinning just based on momentum. Similar to that, what's that big wheel on the Price is Right, right? It's really, really hard to get it going. Then it spins 10 times by itself and then it stops. But if you had processes and systems in place to keep it spinning, then it'll spin forever. All right. So let's start. House of AC, real estate, flywheel, ta-da, right here. At the very, very top, it's knowledge. That's step one in your real estate journey. And it doesn't stop. Like, just because you have knowledge doesn't mean you stop learning. I'm learning new things about real estate every day. I've been doing this for 22 years. I'm 43 years old. And, when I started, there was no such thing as Airbnb. There was no such thing as, vacation rentals. That business didn't exist. There is no online collecting of payments, whether through Venmo or other property management software. There's so many new things that are constantly changing in the real estate world that you never can get away from the knowledge aspect of real estate investing. So just, to me, that's fun. I like learning new things. And typically, if there's a new product out there, whether it's vacation rentals with Airbnb, is it, hey, now we're doing Pad Split. Pad Split is a software out there that a guy I know here in Atlanta started that basically allows you to rent by the room. So if you have a 4-bedroom room, you can split up the pad, and then the utility bills get split 4 ways. And so it's a way to maximize your money. And before, that was quite a headache for property managers to manage, and now it's all in an app. So all these sort of things, I like to go invest and learn, and then I've got knowledge, and I can say that was for me, or I want to do more of that, or wow, that's interesting. I can now teach my clients, whether as a realtor or an advisor or a mentor, that, hey, this is what I've learned doing it, and take from my lessons, whether I lost money because I made a bad decision or I made money because I made a good decision. I want to share those with you as well. Hey, I didn't tell you, but you guys are now my clients and my friends, and I am going to mentor you. So welcome, mentee. We never really had that talk, but hey, it's happening. Okay. All right. Thank you for accepting it. And if you don't accept, then I don't know. I don't know. I'm still going to teach you. I'm still going to be here every day teaching you. So please come and ask all your questions. All right. So knowledge gathering. I've said this before. Pick any guru, and maybe pick 2-3 gurus. Gurus have a negative connotation. I look at a guru as someone who's teaching you something, right? I could maybe call myself a guru. There's good gurus, there's bad gurus. I look at them at yogis. There's, everyone's trying to teach yoga, but then you've got the yogis that teach the hot yoga. You've got the yogis that teach the yoga where you have partners, and then there's your yoga that's cold in a cold room, and then there's yogas where goats climb on your back, right? I don't know what flavor you want, but it's all the same information. It's all about, presence of mind and being in the moment. Okay. And it's just repackaged in different ways and presented in a way that makes sense to you, that you enjoy. All right. So I try to make mine entertaining, my books to be funny. But it honestly, I don't have any secret sauce. I just share experiences that I've learned and things that I've figured out. But at the crux of it, to evaluate a real estate deal, we're all using the same math formulas. We may put them in different orders. We may call them different words, but we're all evaluating the deal on how much money this makes. So go get your knowledge from other people and fact check it, right? And make sure what I'm saying is what you're hearing. And maybe the way someone else says it is a little bit better and to understand than the way I say it. And vice versa. If you're getting information from someone else, you can say, hey, you know what? Thank you. Alan said it in a way I can understand. And hopefully that's the case. That's my goal. I don't necessarily want you to leave and run off, but I'm more interested in you investing in real estate, because that to me is going to change your life. So in your knowledge stage, I was in this stage and I read easily over 50 books. I just went to the library, got every single book. I'm like, I want to do this. This was before I bought any property, before I even bought a primary. I was like, I need to understand real estate. I'm going to read this book and this book and that book and this book. And I'm old. This was before podcasts. This was before YouTube. Maybe your method is doing that, and that might be easier for you. It doesn't matter. Just go be in the knowledge acquisition stage. This is the start of your flywheel, right? And what I figured out finally is that once I started reading like the 40th book, I could see where the author was going to go. I was like, oh, I think he's going to say this, or I think he's going to evaluate the property this way. And I could start predicting where, with the knowledge that he was going to teach me, was going to go. I was like, okay, I've read this 40 different ways. It's the same stuff. And then I would keep reading and be like, aha, I'm right. I could anticipate where this was leading. And of course, that brought me to the next stage of the House of AC Real Estate Flywheel, which is confidence. Okay. So after you have enough knowledge, then you've got confidence. Like, wait a minute. I understand real estate. I understand how to evaluate a deal. I understand, what I want to do in this confidence stage. And so it's very important to have confidence, right? Because confidence is going to keep you engaged. It's going to keep you excited about real estate. And you're now going to be able to confidently walk into an open house and predict what you think the value of that home is. You could look at a deal online and confidently understand what that area could rent for, because that's just knowledge gathering. A website to use is rentometer.com. That's a very popular website. If you need the knowledge of how to figure out something rents for, I just give it to you. And now you have that website and you're familiar with that website. You probably have the confidence now to understand what that area rents for. Zillow is also a great example. Pretend like you're looking for that type of property in that zip code. hey, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom in this zip code for rent on Zillow or apartments.com or on rentometer.com. All those websites. Just pretend like you're a renter and you'll see what you can get for $1,500 or whatever you enter. And then you can say, wait a minute, this house that I'm looking at is better than this one that's rents for $1,500. Or you can say it's worse. Or, hey, if I only add washer and dryer into the kitchen, then I can get the same price as what I'm seeing online. So that sort of stuff, after a while, you're just going to know instinctively. You're going to understand, well, I know what this market rents for. I've been looking for ages on this property. And then you know you've got confidence. You spent all this time in the knowledge gathering, right? And then now you're spending all this time in the confidence stage. And a lot of it is just reassuring yourself. That's how you build confidence. Testing yourself. What would Alan do, right? What does Alan say? Let me go watch one of his videos. What would this other author say? Let me read one more book. It's knowledge, but I just want to fact check my confidence. You know, am I there yet? Am I ready to make a move? Because if you haven't bought real estate yet, you're not a real estate investor yet. You're in the knowledge gathering stage or the confidence stage. You're still not a real estate investor. Okay. So once you have enough confidence, this is where it gets exciting. The flywheel keeps spinning. You started in knowledge, you moved on to confidence, and now let's move to the third stage of the flywheel, which is action. Now, this action is the fun part, right? The action means now you're making offers on things, right? Now you're getting under contract on things. You're actively pursuing acquiring a property. Okay, so this is much different than just confidence, where you're like, oh, I know what I'm doing, I just haven't found the right deal yet. Action is, hey, I'm going to make this work. I know my numbers like the back of my hand, and let's do this. Like I'm going to make this succeed no matter what. That's action and confidence and knowledge all mixed together, and you start making offers that way. So action is a huge part to get you on the path to be a real estate investor, right? It takes all these things. It's action that it builds upon itself. And then you know, you're closer to being a landlord. You're closer to being a real estate investor if this is your first time. It's really hard. You're pushing that flywheel really hard because you haven't even done a full spin yet. Its momentum has not been able to feed upon it. Your effort. And this is the hardest part, right? It was so hard to get through all those books and really understand these new concepts and learn this new language and these new words, right? So that was very difficult, and you might be tired of being down, but then you got confidence. And it's just like learning any new skill. If you're learning tennis for the first time, you got to learn the rules of tennis first. You got to learn, basic strategy, and then you get confidence in yourself. Wow, I got it over the net 2 or 3 times. You're taking action. You're now calling your friends to say, "Will you come hit with me?" Like this is it applies for everything. You need the knowledge, you need the confidence in order to take that action. And what happens if you take enough action? Action meaning you put 10 offers out there, right? You call 3 real estate agents and you pick out the real estate agent that you want. You get pre-qualified for a mortgage. All those things are actions that you're taking after you have confidence and after you have knowledge. This is all setting things up for you sweet and nice so that you can actually go under contract on something, call yourself a landlord, and that brings you to the last step of the flywheel, experience. You can't have experience until you complete the action stage, right? And so what's great about experience? Well, experience is like knowledge on steroids, because you're out in the real world, you're faced with real world issues, you've mentally prepared for every worst case scenario, and I promise you those will probably never materialize, but it'll be replaced by 10 other issues you never even thought of, right? You never thought of that a tree root might grow into your terracotta sewer pipe. Like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that was an issue here. And that's okay, because I have a budget that I plan for emergencies. This is what experience gets you. It's so much better than knowledge, but it also, you get to call yourself a landlord, you get to call yourself a real estate investor. And so with experience comes a wealth a wealth of opportunity. And I want to share a story when I get through the flywheel example on how that's benefited me. So experience is the goal, right? That's the last step of the flywheel. And once you have enough experience, then you're learning what's good. Oh, wow, I really, really like vacation rentals. I really, really like duplexes. I really, really like, single family homes in rural areas, whatever it may be. Experience may also say, wow, I'm not cut out for mobile home parks. I'm not cut out for self-storage. I'm not cut out for, townhomes, whatever it is. Like, you're not going to know that until you have experience. And then you can adjust. You can say, wow, I want to buy more of this property. Or, hey, I would really, really love this property if I bought the exact same thing, but it was closer to public transportation. Or I wish I bought this in a different zip code that had better schools. Whatever, like, you're not going to know until you own something and then you're actively engaged in it and be like, how can I maximize the value, or what is holding me back from maximizing more value? And that's where you're going to get your answers, which conveniently enough brings you back to the top of the flywheel of knowledge, right? So you're back into this top stage here. Knowledge. All this experience gave you new, fresh knowledge. There's the unknowns. No, you don't know what you don't know. Now you do, because you have experience. And you can go back to listening to my podcast, The House of AC, which, by the way, I take all these shows and I put them on my podcast. Right now, it's called Housefire Podcast. I'm rebranding it the House of AC Podcast, so you can listen to these shows on the podcast. But maybe you need to go back and re-listen to episodes in a podcast, or read Housefire book again, or go read someone else's book, or listen to someone else's podcast. Get more knowledge, and that knowledge is going to be so much richer and deeper because you have experience to base it off of. Or your experience has told you what knowledge you need to go acquire so you can keep this flywheel spinning. Because now that new knowledge is going to give you new confidence, right? You have even more confidence now than you did before because of experience and new knowledge acquisition. So what does that mean? That flywheel is moving with a little less effort. It took so much effort your first time, but now that you've got knowledge, confidence, action, experience all behind you one time, this wheel, this real estate investing wheel, will start spinning upon itself. The momentum will start spinning upon itself to push you and make the second acquisition so much easier. Because you've got the knowledge, and now you've got new confidence because of your experience and your richer knowledge. You've got more and more confidence. I've done this before. I know what an offer looks like. I understand what happens at a closing table. All this confidence leads to more action. This action, you've already got your agent and your home inspector and your mortgage lender. If you need a mortgage lender, I'm going to give a shout out to JasmineTeam.com, Jasmine Home Lending. She's a partner and a sponsor of this show, but I've used her personally 15 times on my own loans, and all my clients use her. And understand what you can go buy. I'm going to put her, there you go, Jasmine Home Lending, up on the screen, and she's great. But you probably already have your pieces in place, your rock star team, and so it's much easier to go in action. You've done it all before, right? And then so you take all those skills and you go put a new offer in on something else. You put an offer before one sticks because we're in a hot market. And then you acquire your second property. And guess what? You've got new experience, fresher experience. And it might be, hey, I love what I did the first time. Let me rinse and repeat. And then you've got two on the same block. And that's fine. Maybe you've slightly adjusted what you want or not want. And this experience gives you more knowledge. And then, of course, do you think the third time around is going to be a little bit easier than the second time around? Yes, it is. So you just keep spinning around this flywheel, and it's just easier and easier and easier. So if you find yourself stuck in that first stage of knowledge, just know, hey, just keep acquiring knowledge, and you're going to have confidence. And then if you're stuck in confidence, keep acquiring that confidence until you can take action. And then you take that action and you move it into the experience stage. And once you have all these things, by the second, third one, it's no stress. Nothing is stressful anymore because there's no surprises. You know exactly what you're in for. You know exactly how to evaluate a property. Your numbers are going to get more accurate because now you have similar quotes because you bought a similar home and now you know what home insurance is on that similar home, or you know what repairs you really need to look out for and what your budget is. If you're buying the same product a second or third or fourth time, then you really are an expert, and you can probably within $5 determine what your repair budget is going to be, how much you need to budget, what your vacancies are going to be. You might be like, wow, I bought in this area, the zip code, same type of product house, a single family duplex, whatever the product type is, and you're like, I've never had a vacancy. You're like, okay, well maybe I'm budgeting too much for vacancies. Or I've already covered too much on my other properties for vacancies, so I can do a little bit lower on this property. You can work these things out, but you can't do that on step one. So a lot of people get freaked out and say, wow, this is really hard. I don't know if I can do it. And all I can say is everything is hard. Tennis is hard. Golf is hard. Learning a new computer language, whatever it is that you're interested in, is hard until you do it. And then the more you do it, the better you get. And then the better you get, the more you do it. And it just keeps going and going around. And so, some of the most frustrating things is the conversations I have with people. And they're like, Alan, when's the best time to buy real estate? And I get that question, is now a good time to buy real estate? When should I have bought real estate? And my answer is always the same. You should have bought it 2 years ago when you asked me that last time. And I told you now is the best time to do it, because now it doesn't really matter what the market's doing. I don't care if the market's up or down as a real estate investor, because it all comes down to what the numbers look like on a spreadsheet. If it makes me money on day one when I close in a down market, I'm buying the property. If it makes me money on day one when I close in an up market, I'm buying the property, because that are usually fixed expenses. Think of it this way. A real estate, lease is usually 12 months. So if the market rapidly changes, there's usually a 12-month lag on leases. So I know pretty much if I get someone in on a 12-month lease, what my income is going to be for, right? Sure, they may skip out and move middle of the lease, break the lease, forfeit their deposit. That's all budgeted for. That happens, right? But they most likely won't. That doesn't happen often. Maybe less than 5% of the time that will happen is probably a good number. I'm trying to think of all the times it's happened to me. It's probably happened to me 5 times over 20 years. And so then, so back to like the market changing or not, and whether you're caught, you're not forced to sell. If the real estate market crashes, it typically means it was a financial crash of some sort. There's some more larger economy issues causing the crash. A lot of people lose their jobs. It's very unfortunate. People may lose their homes. That doesn't affect a real estate investor, because typically that creates more rental tenants. They've lost their home. They've lost their job. They can't make their mortgage payments. Now they need something cheaper, and they're going to go rent a property. So if the market crashes, it's not that the tenants say, I'm not, there's no more tenants anymore. There's no more people looking for a place to rent. There's more, if not. And then when prices go up, more people are going to want to buy houses, but they can't because the prices are going up and they can't afford it. So they're going to stay where they are. Or if they do move out, you probably have a bunch more that's going to move in. It's an evergreen business. There's always going to need someone a nice place to live. And by nice, I honestly just mean safe, right? They need consistency. They need safe. They need to know that the utilities are going to be on as expected every day. Just minor repairs. It doesn't need to be hardwood floors. It doesn't need to be granite countertops. It doesn't need to be stainless steel appliances. That might be what you want in your own home, but tenants don't expect that. When you were a tenant, in your first time you were a tenant, right out of high school, first time in college, right? Did you care about any of that? No, you just wanted to live with your buddies and you wanted to be close to campus, or you wanted to be close to work or whatever. Like you could care less. You didn't even know what a hardwood floor was, unless you grew up with one. And so you just got to, a lot of people overspend on their properties, and you just got to realize that not everybody wants that. And so you don't have to buy the nicest thing in the block. You should never buy the nicest thing on the block. A good real estate move is to buy one of the cheaper things on the block and let everyone else improve their properties on your street. And then you can kind of ride the appreciation wave that they've created. So please ask away questions. If this is making sense to you or not making sense to you, if you can recognize where you are in your journey, this sort of flywheel is great. And this brings me to something that I had a closing yesterday. So great deal. Great deal. So I'm going to share some numbers on a great real estate investment that I had. And when I share this news, it upsets new real estate investors. They're the ones who never bought something or thinking about buying something the first time. When I share a story like this, they get angry. And so I'll share this story and then we'll circle back why this angers new real estate agents. So I had a property brought to me by a friend, Jeff, who said, "Hey, Alan, I know of a property off market in your neighborhood. They need to close by the end of the month." And the month was like 2.5 weeks away. It's a beautiful lot. The home is old. It hasn't been fixed up in 60 years, but it's livable and it's safe. It's not going to fall down. People are living in it now. The current owners are living in it now, but they're under contract on a property, and they need to buy that in 2.5 weeks. So they're going to fire sell their property off market for $500,000. So this deal was brought from a real estate agent to my friend Jeff. Because that real estate agent knew Jeff was looking for fixer-uppers, projects, things like that. Said, "Hey, we're going to sell this for $500,000. Jeff calls me and says, "Alan, I think I have a good deal. Will you come check it out with me?" And so I go check it out with him, and I look at it, and I said, "Hey, man, this is a $750,000 house. You should buy this yesterday. Like, don't delay. Like, don't let this agent show it to any other person or anything like that. We need to wrap this up immediately." Now, Jeff doesn't do real estate every single day. He's been around the flywheel once or twice, but he trusts me. He knew me as a real estate guy. He knows I've done this flywheel so many times that I have tremendous amount of knowledge, confidence, action, and experience, right? So he is saying, "Wait a minute, I want to get the opinion of someone else who's been around the flywheel more times than me." And that's where I come in, and I say, "Jeff, I just think you should buy this. I don't need to be involved. This was your deal. I don't need to be a realtor on this. I just, as your friend, go buy this deal. You're going to make money." Now, the ask for him then is, "Okay, I'm going to buy this deal, $500,000, and we're going to, it needs to be all cash in order to close in 2.5 weeks. We can't get a loan in that quick a time." And so that's scary. $500,000, cash for anyone at any point in their life. That's a ton of money, especially if maybe you don't have the full confidence or action or experience that I have. Right? To me, I'm in and out, right? Let's get it. Let's wrap it up and move forward. And I understand he hasn't gone the flywheel as often as I have. So we just kept talking, and then he offered to me, "Hey, Alan, I'd feel more comfortable if you partner with me on this. Let's go 50-50. We'll each put $250,000 on this, and we'll buy it together." That made him more confident. That allowed him to get through the confidence stage and do the action stage of actually putting in an offer. And so I agreed, because I stand by my advice, my words. This was a great deal. We need to buy it. And so we purchased the property, and I'll show you right here. Log me out, but we bought it for $500,000. The owners wanted to rent it back from us for 2 years. 2 months. The owners wanted to rent back for us for 2 months. just so they could pack up because they'd lived in this home easily over 50 years. And so they needed time to pack, they needed time to close on their new home, and then they needed time to move. This was an older elderly couple. And, some people might say, well, I couldn't, are you taking advantage of them? Are they, did you offer too little? And, I helped them. They had a problem that needed to be solved. We need $500,000 in 2.5 weeks. That was the problem they had. They presented the offer to their real estate agent. The real estate agent presented it to my friend Jeff. Jeff presented it to me. Hey, we'll solve your problem. We would happily. And then the house is our problem, and now we're going to sell it, right? So we bought it, $500,000, put a for sale sign, did not do any work on the home, and in the yard, I listed it for $775,000, $275,000 more than what we bought it for, a day later. And what we did was we got 2 offers. We got about 6 offers. The first 2 were an escalation clause up to $775,000. And great, easy money, right? Easy money, $275,000. We had the first 2 deals fell apart. We finally found the buyer to come back into the deal at $685,000. I honestly still think it's a $725,000, $750,000 house. But I had a super excited buyer who's going to renovate it, live in it themselves, great real estate agent representing them. I was like, listen, I don't need to go put this back on the market, wait 6 months, have more deals fall apart, take time. I don't need to be greedy. We made a good spread, right? At the end of the day, we made $180,000, $90,000 each for just being there, ready to invest, because I've gone around that flywheel so many times is why this happened. And so, great. So a lot of people's like, oh, why? So this brings me to why real estate investors, new ones, are upset with that story. So, because they're going to listen to that story and they're going to say, well, Alan, bring me that deal next time it happens. Or I can't find a deal like that, but, something that has those returns. Or, hey, when I find that deal, then I would move on that deal. I'm not moving until I find a deal that's sweet, that's got that much meat on the bone. And my reply is, those deals you're not going to find. Those deals find you. And how do those great deals find you? Well, you have to have a reputation of someone who's gone through that flywheel 10, 20, 50 times, right? Because those best deals, they always come to me. And all my deals where I make the most money, typically I have a partner involved and they come find me, right? And so how do you get people to come find you? Well, do you think it's going to be, hey, I've got this great deal, let me bring it to this person who's been thinking about real estate for 2 years? No, because that person is just going to think on this deal, or they're not going to recognize the deal because they don't have experience or the knowledge yet. That person is going to be freaked out by a home inspection report because they've never seen a home inspection report before, or they fell apart on 5 different home inspection reports. So probably it's going to fall apart on the 6th. They might not have funding. They've never funded a deal before. All these question marks, right? All of these question marks. I'm not going to, I personally will never bring a deal to someone in that stage. And that's, without even thinking about it, Jeff possibly had those thoughts. And he's like, who would know instantly whether this is a good deal? Who could help me pay for it instantly if he knew it was a good deal, he or she? And who would have the experience to solve any problems in case this goes south, right? Well, me, right? Because all I do is talk about where I am at any one stage on the flywheel. I'm always in the knowledge acquisition. I'm always in the confidence building. I'm always in the experience building and the action. And so all this stuff, it helps me, right? And so that is how you attract deals. That's how you attract the best deals. You won't ever get there waiting for that deal to fall in your lap. And I promise you, it has fallen on your lap and you didn't even recognize it. Another thing is I've been trying to sell some of my real estate investments. First-time home buyers, first-time real estate investors. I've read your book, Alan. I'm ready to find a deal. Okay, here's the deal. I've got it. What's your budget? Okay, I've only got $60,000 here. I would just package it. Here's one for $60,000. I'm willing to sell you. I just need to get rid of it quick because I've got another shiny thing over here that I want to buy, another real estate property. $60,000. It's got a built-in property manager. Here's the rent roll and the receipts for the last 12 months. This tenant's been there for 10 years. They're paying $650 a month. I probably sent a deal like that to over 100 people. Over 100 people. And new real estate investors. I'm trying to help them out. I'm like, guys, not a big investment. I'm not asking you to spend $500,000. They just didn't recognize it was a good deal. They just didn't recognize it. And so then I put it on the market, and they all sold, for $90,000, up to $100,000. I got Open Door buying the exact same properties for $100,000. They do overpay for things, but you could have just bought it from me for $60,000 and then sold it to someone else for $90,000, right? Or then they're like, no, I don't want to do that, but I found this deal that's $100,000 and it gets for $600 in rent. And it's like, okay, why would you want to pay $100,000 to make $600 in rent when you had an opportunity to pay $60,000 for $600 in rent? Like that's sort of the question marks. Like, I'm not making fun of people in that stage. I was there in that stage once, right? But you won't even know that you made a mistake until you make a mistake, until you buy a property and say, wow, that would have been much better to buy this for $40,000 cheaper. It's the same numbers, right? And someone will be like, well, I want to buy this one because it's got brick and yours has vinyl siding. Okay. At the end of the day, that's fine. That to me is that your thought process is what you would want in a home that you live in, not what is a small business. You're buying a small business. And I promise you, a tenant has never said, I'm not renting your property because it has vinyl sidings. That maybe if you're in a high-class neighborhood and you're the only house and you're trying to attract a higher grade tenant, but if you're looking at homes that are $60,000 or under $100,000, you're not looking at the Taj Mahal, okay? These are not going to be showstoppers. You're not going to put your family in a car, drive by and say, wow, look at this, showpiece that I bought. That's not the point of this. The point of this is to have a small, little, tiny incremental cash flow with as little money as possible. So that's what you got to think about, right? So the best deals go to everyone who goes around that flywheel, right? You've got to have experience, and then that experience begets deals. Deals upon success begets success. Okay, and so all it takes is just to get started, and that's not going to happen, right? That's why I give the 90-day challenge. Buy your property in 90 days. I promise you. If you're listening to me, like somehow you found your way to me right now, you probably have enough knowledge to buy your own property. If not, it costs $15 to get the entire knowledge, my entire brain put into a book, right? If you think about every single book that's an author has to write, it's not like I'm only going to give you 5 of the secrets because then your book is only 10 pages long, right? You're going to put every single possibly thing and have experienced in that book. Like you can acquire every expert's entire brain for $15 online and understand how they think. And so you never even have to be like, oh man, only if I could have coffee with that person, if I could take that person for lunch, if that person will review every single deal that I'm looking at. And it's like, hey, I put it all in a book. And everyone is put in the book. There's all these books up at the top shelf. Every single one's a real estate investing book. So it's the knowledge is out there. There's YouTube videos out there. There's podcasts out there. There's no excuse to not get past the knowledge stage into the confidence stage very, very quickly. So give yourself that 90-day challenge. I'm going to buy a property in 90 days. And if that is your goal, and then you just stick to it no matter what, you're going to have a property. You're going to have that experience. You're going to be around that flywheel, and that's going to make your second deal so much easier. that and hitting that 90 days the second time, so much easier. And then hitting the 90, you could buy 4 properties in 1 year if you just stick to the 90-day challenge. And I promise you, it's going to get easier and easier and easier, because what's going to happen? Hey, Joe, this is what happens to me. All right. Hey, I'm in the grocery store. Hey, Alan, it's my neighbor. Hey, what have you been up to? Oh, not much, just generally catching up. I just listed a property, a duplex in this town, and, just finished painting it, whatever. I'm not trying to sell that person. It's, what have you been up to? Oh, this is what I've been up to, or I've been doing a daily live stream on my show. Oh, what's it about? Oh, it's about real estate. Occasionally I talk about crypto. People think I'm crazy when I talk about crypto, but people also thought I was crazy when I talked about real estate when I was 22 years old. So I'm used to it, but it all paid out. And so what happens now is I wasn't selling them something. It was a genuine conversation that I'm catching up with. And this happens over and over again, right? And then what happens? That neighbor, maybe I'll run into him on the sidewalk in 2 weeks. Hey, Alan, you're still teaching those real estate shows online? Yeah. Oh, so my nephew really wants to sell this property quickly. Can you help him? Do you want to buy it, or do you know someone that can buy it? Wow. Because I have experience, now I have got inbound organic lead generation on a home. Now that doesn't happen to someone who's like, hey, I'm thinking about buying a house. I just, what have you been up to? Oh, I read a book about, buying a house. I want to go to the beach and read this book about real estate investing. Okay. You see that person 2 months later. Hey, how's it going? Did you buy a house? No, not yet. Okay. And if that person had a nephew that needs to sell a house, they're not going to tell you right now, because they're like, oh, this person, they're going to screw over my nephew, or they're going to waste my nephew's time. But I was asking, because I knew you were thinking about real estate investing, but because you haven't acted upon anything, I'm not going to give you this good off-market deal. So you are actively preventing yourself from getting the best deals by not taking action. And I promise you, the chances that you're going to hit a home run on your first deal are low, because you're not in this wheel. You're not in this experience mode. So so many people watching this are frozen with fear. What about this deal? What about that deal? I'm looking at a 2-bedroom over here. I'm looking at a townhouse over here. I'm looking at a storage unit over here. You can't compare those things. I promise you can make money on this deal. You can make money on that deal. You can make money on that deal. Possibly you'll lose money on that deal and that deal and that deal. But you comparing them, there's not, just pick one, get experience. And I promise, if you lose money, it's okay. That experience is going to give you so much knowledge. You'll gladly pay $100,000 for a college education to go work in a field that you may or may not work in. I always looked at it as, hey, I have money saved up for graduate school. I love real estate. I'm going to go to graduate school for college, and it was going to cost $100,000. I've done this 3 times in my life. I've applied for graduate school programs 3 times in my life, and I got accepted, thankfully, in all 3. Great schools, great real estate schools. And then the day it came down to, wait, I'm going to pay $100,000 for someone to teach me through books about real estate. I'll probably learn something new. But I bet I learned way more putting that $100,000 into 2, 3, 4 properties. That will give me real world experience, which is so much richer and deeper and more meaningful than book experience. I could probably get that book experience by buying a book, by watching a YouTube video. Maybe I'm missing out on some networking opportunities with my college, graduate group. There's always going to be opportunity costs, but I bet I generate more, that $100,000 might make me $200,000, right? My $100,000 college education might make me, it won't make me $100,000 as fast. It won't make me $200,000. It might get me into a job that makes me $200,000. But if I lose, imagine if I go through that graduate school program and I don't get a job, then I lost $100,000. If I get $100,000 in real estate and I lose it all, I probably got a $200,000 education on what not to do again. So it always comes back to experience, experience, experience. And I highly encourage you to go and get it. So there you have it. That is my spiel on the flywheel, the House of AC Real Estate Investing Flywheel. Little housekeeping. I want to say we are going to shift next week these shows from 12 to 12:30 start time. So we're gonna try a new time slot. I find I get twice as many viewers in the second half of my show than the beginning. So I don't know if that means I'm just too much fluff at the front, or people are just tuning in a little bit later. So I'm going to try to move this show moving forward daily, Monday through Friday, starting at 12:30. Typically, it's an hour-long show. Then it's replayed on a podcast, the House of AC podcast. You can find it online. Currently called House Fire Podcast. We're going through a rebranding there. Please follow my links in the link tree. Go to my Discord. All this stuff. I really, really appreciate you guys tuning in. I had so much fun doing this. Thank you for all your comments and questions, episodes. And we're going to have more guests coming on that are going to share their stories. So it's not just all my stories. I want you to hear from people that may be in your shoes, buying their first property or second property, or they bought a property 10 years ago and now they're thinking about doing it again. So I want to bring you more of those stories as it, because it's changed my life tremendously financially, and I there's not a reason it won't do it for you either. So thanks for listening to the House of AC, and I'll see you next time. And I love you guys. Tomorrow's my birthday, so I'm gonna have a big birthday special tomorrow. So looking forward to you guys tuning in.